That totem pole in front of the museum there was, I repaired it. The first time was from before it got raised in front of the museum. It was so soft and rotten on the top, but when we moved it again, there's nothing we could do with the top. It was so soft. So I suggested, what we'll do is take it down, and I put a whole new top on the Thunderbird. The whole top was all brand new. Laminated a piece of wood on top of that, and adds it all in shape of like the old one. And I put new ears on it, repainted it, and we raised it in front of the museum. So later on, a few years later, Peter McNair comes to me and he says, "Bill, maybe we should go have a look at Dad's old pole there." So we walked there, and at that time we were going to preserve it, try save it. But already then it was too far gone. It was just like powder inside the paint. So we left it, and me and Peter talked, and Alicia after that, we should be making a new one for it. So came to the conclusion, yeah, after we talked to a few meetings, and we're going to make a new one to replace it. So when the pole came down, I suggested, we're not going to leave it to rot anyway. I can't do that. That's not, I know my father wouldn't like it, the master carver who did it. So I thought myself, as a master carver, took over from Sam Henderson. Master carver myself, I cannot sit and watch that pole rot. That's not Dad. So I came to the conclusion to have a burning ceremony on the beach and give it back.
A lot of people didn't really understand that whole giving it back and the reasons why. You know, part of it not knowing who really owned that pole in the first place. And I know who owned it. You know, my grandfather owned it. He put his right and his privilege into that log and created what he did. That was his at the end of the day. And no matter what, who buys it or who puts it where, it's still his. Because that's his legacy and his legends that came from his mother and his, well, not so much his father, but mainly his mother. So at the end of the day, yeah, he really owned it. And you know, what better way to give back than to burn it and have that ceremony. You know, we often do that with a lot of different things to give to our people that have gone before us. And we've been doing it for years. That was nothing new. It's just that it hadn't been done around here for a while. So that was very powerful moments. Taking it down, you know, feeling like, wow, you know, looking at it pretty rugged and feeling bad for that, you know, tough journey that it lived in its life.
I'm glad you could make it here today for this burning ceremony we are going to have. It's never been seen before. It's the first time being done in this area. And I'm very proud to be doing it. I've been thinking about it for many months, real long time. I remember 4 years ago, Peter McNair came to me and we had a look at the pole. We were thinking about saving it. But it was so far gone, I said to Peter, I think I know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to give it back. And we'll replace it with a new one. And like I say, I thought about it a long time. Some people didn't agree with it. But a lot of chiefs I talked to agreed with what I had in mind to do. I told them I was going to lay cedar bark over top of the pole. As it was, before we carved it, we peeled the cedar bark off the tree. Then we started carving it. It was carved in 1966. I was already working in a logging camp at that time, when I was 16. And on my days off, I can remember painting on the chest on it, the little man on the bottom. Spent a lot of time with Dad, me, my brothers, Ernie especially. He was right there, always painting with him. And it was a hard decision at first, but after I talked to some people with a lot of knowledge, they thought, Bill, you're doing the right thing.
Well, this is one of many of British Columbia's Centennial projects, and Laurie Wallace, who was a deputy provincial secretary back then when this all happened, was always promoting First Nations in every aspect and way that he could. And he convinced the BC Ferries and Department of Highways that along the route of the ferry system, starting at Tsawwassen, coming across to Victoria and or points north, then coming all the way up Campbell River, the Nimkish River, ending in Port Hardy, or Beaver Harbor as it was, and there was one at Prince Rupert as well. And so it was a celebration of First Nations involvement in that particular centennial. This one, of course, having been carved by Sam here in this community, it was decided to put that pole up here. Many of the others ended up in the home communities of the at least 10, maybe a dozen artists who contributed to this. So there were Coast Salish, Kwakwaka'wakw, New Chalmette, Tsimshian, and Prince Rupert. And it was quite a celebration. But one of the challenges was that they didn't sort of figure for the issue of maintaining them over time. And the administration of the collection sort of disappeared from government. And in time, the rain and the wind and the elements began to take their toll. And this was one which, in this exposed area, and those southeasters that howl all winter long, it suffered and was eventually moved, if I'm correct, to the site or the museum at Campbell River. And it was further exposed to the elements to the point where the family, and Bill particularly, Bill Henderson particularly, saw that there was no more salvage that could be done on it, so it had to go back to the earth and the sky, and he made the decision.
That pole we just put out to the spirit world, it's been done, redone. I did it twice, and now it's gone home. Now we're very proud to stand one in its place, and let's just be the pole here. So we will do the ceremony now, and we'll have a ladies' dance and a lunch after. So we'll start now. He was brought up in a village called London Harbor. Ba'as is the Bakwam name for the village. And he grew up there as a young boy. He watched older carvers in the village, people that like Kwakiutl, Willie Seaweed, Joe Seaweed. They all grew up in the same village. So growing up, he watched different carvers, and he learned how to carve himself. And when he left, he potlatched, singing songs, and he actually had to hide for a few months. When he moved to Campbell River with his Uncle Jim, brought him here, and he met my mother, May Quaksister, and a marriage took place, and they were married native way and in the church. So that came, along came with Dad, was the culture back to Campbell River. He started teaching us kids. We were just all very young, and a lot of other young kids on the reserve also, singing the songs and dancing. So growing up, carving, I'd sit in his little shop. He had one light bulb in there, and carving and watching him, and it was a pretty dark place. And I carved with Dad a lot. Painting. I did a lot of painting for him as a young boy, teenager. I was already working at that age, and I'd come home and I painted the chest and that little man the bear's actually holding. And the figures on there is a thunderbird on top. It's a thunderbird, huge bird, belongs to the Quaksister family, that crest, and the Kwakwaka'wakw band. And that was his thought, to put that bird from this band and also from my mother's side, to put on top of that bird. And that thunderbird was so huge, the wings were like, I heard they were spread 100 feet across. So enough powers it could pick up killer whales and that right out of the water from the highest peaks on the mountains. And it comes to that bear. The bear is also from my mother's side. That was given to my grandfather by Papa, Billy Asu. Gave those crests to my granny. Came from Cape Mudge over to the Spit. And so that was Dad's idea, to put those crests on that totem pole. And there was a ceremony for it, 1966, but they never had the ceremony until, I can't remember when the museum was finished. That pole went up. It was already up before the building was up, I believe. And yeah, and I did so much time and so many poles. Dad, known as Numatsa, nickname Numatsa. And we worked a lot for him, not only myself, my older brothers, especially Ernie, was carving. He carved a lot with Dad, and I worked side by side with them both. We'd all be involved in chopping the sap off the wood before he designed the totem pole. It was a big process, taking the sap wood and then adding all the sap off to make it presentable to carve. Sometimes it took us a week or two to do all that work. It was done at the old shop, my dad's old carving shop. The property was given to Mom and Dad. They had 2 property lots over there. And it was done in that old shed at one of Dad's properties, the old carving shed. I carved on a lot of poles in that old shop with Dad. And how he moved them around in that old shop, he had a jack from his logging days, hand logging. It was a Gilchrist jack, and he'd pry it back and forth with that. And I could remember all by himself working, rolling it, wedges under and roll it back the other way. And working with the chisels and kunzayus adds. In them days, it took a lot of time to carve a totem pole, you know, and I can remember when I first came with a little power saw and carved the tail out on the whale. I kind of blew that away. I said, wow, can do a little more with those little machines. And yeah, he'd smile, you know, he'd just smile, and I knew it was all right. Because so many times I asked Dad carving, I said, what do you think, Pops? He said, all right. He'd nod, smile. I knew it was fine. It was a lot of fun growing up like that. Yeah, and it was too bad those days are gone.
I guess I'm probably about 13 years old. My older brother came to live with us to go to school here, and he quite often would go down to the old shed, and I followed him around there. I've kind of been around it all my life. My father was he was a blanket maker, but he carved in his early days, and it was just always in our house. It was on our walls, and so pretty much from, I guess, really being a young boy, but really when I started to really look at it, I was about 13 years old. My mother's got some carvings on their wall that I'd first done, hanging out with my brother there. He's, he's 8 years older than me, so he was a little more advanced in it at that time, and showed me a few things, and it was about the time where I kind of really thought this was really interesting. I'm very blessed and fortunate to have been able to be a part of the restoration of it, and to be a part of that giving it back. That was very important. In the beginning was kind of like, wow, why me? Geez. And, I know I have relatives that are just as skilled, just as good of a carver as I am, if not better. And some of them I learned off of. My brother, they're all older than me. And, why don't they get the opportunity, or why don't they get the chance? And then, I have to sit over the years. And some have come and gone, and, but I was the only one that stuck around, and I don't know what that was or why that was. But I always believed that passing something down the way that our family has, you stuck it out. You're the only one that sat beside Uncle Billy and still do today, and are learning from him still. But at the same time, I'm able to give back to him by helping him out, because he's older now, because he can't do the things he did 20 years ago that I watched him do. Now I'm able to do those things for him from time to time to help pay back for everything that he had taught me. And to be able to do this project with him, knowing that he sat with his father and worked on this pole with his father and learned from his father, that he's taught me all these same skills. And so now both of us are putting our teachings together into this pole and trying to recreate it the best we can. Certainly it's not exactly, but it's pretty close, and it's something that I'll never forget, without a doubt, the time that I had to share with my uncle on this pole, and to always be able to look at it when it is standing, knowing that the two of us together had carried on this legacy. And not only just the two of us, I shouldn't say that. There's my cousin Greg, my brother Jonathan, and all the other nephews that he has that have helped carry on the legacy of our grandfather and father. But the two of us together have been together for 22 years now, and I don't see that anywhere, even amongst our family, but anywhere else in amongst our people, that one apprentice would sit with their master until their time comes, you know. And that's kind of how it was in the days of old. It wasn't that just everybody got the chance to be a carver because they could sit and watch and learn. It was about certain ones that were brought in to be taught. Yeah, I was very thankful that somebody told me to stick alongside my uncle all these years. Money never mattered, right? It was all about just having the respect for a guy that was willing to give up part of his life to make yours better. And yeah, so I can't wait for the day that it gets stood up.
Glad to see you all here today for this ceremony that's going to take place. We've been planning it for several months now, and it's happening today. Would have been Sam Henderson's birthday tomorrow on the 21st of May. Today is my brother Ernie's birthday, 20th of May. And it's only fitting how it's coming together.
Family. I need to thank all my family, most of my family, for being here today to stand with me. It is a great day to carve a pole we put away a year ago in the burning ceremony. It's never been done in this territory. It was a decision I made. A couple of my family didn't want to do that, but I couldn't stand to lower it on the ground somewhere and watch it rot. That's not, to me, I said, that's not our father. We'll take it to the beach where we grew up. We laid cedar bark down as it was before we carved it. Laid all his food, his favorite foods. Dad liked to have tea about 3 or 4 times a day, and every time we did that, we had biscuits and cheese. So we laid that down. Smoked fish, glitna. We put it all on the log. Bacon. That man would get up and cook us bacon just about every morning, just for the men. Sorry, ladies. But, you know, we grew up watching that. And I had to make my mind up, and we did what we did here today. And I'm so glad. We had a rough way going. I lost 2 brothers. My oldest brother, Uji's Tully's Dan Henderson, and my brother Mark. 4 months apart. And it was a hard time to get back going again. I'd open that shed up and lock the door and walk away again. But I knew we had to move on. It's got to keep going. As Dad said, look after our number. It's not going to go away. So much of my family is, I'm so proud of my nephews. Junior, that's the man beside me. Greg, my son William, he painted on the pole. As I did when I was 15 years old. I painted on that pole. I had a lot of time thinking about it as we were making it. Fun times. And now here it is today. I got to thank all my family. They do so much for me. My sisters, they're always there for me, preparing the food. Can't say enough about them. And my brothers standing with me. Decay, Henry Seaweed, very dear to my heart. They grew up where my father grew up. And I heard great carvers come out of there, and I think they're right.
hold the Henderson family in high regard for their generosity, their tradition of giving to our community, for instilling their children with a sense of pride in their heritage and ensuring that their traditions and culture are preserved. Under his father's tutelage, Bill began carving very early, and I believe his first piece he carved was in grade 1 for his teacher. Well done. Did you get an A? Good. Bill's parents, Sam and May Henderson, received the City of Campbell River's Community Builder Award in 2007 for reaching out and sharing their heritage with the larger community. The city established the Community Builder Awards that year to recognize outstanding individuals who have provided initiative and leadership in the development of Campbell River and left a legacy for us to enjoy and build upon. Last year, we were pleased to honor Bill in the same way, and Bill is dedicated to mentoring the next generation. Junior Henderson and the other family members working in the carving shed are testaments to this. Junior, I believe you have achieved your goal, and I know that all of the community and Sam are very proud of you. And Bill, you commented about how everything your family has done for you. I want to thank you for everything you do for us. Yalla Kasla. Thank you.
We went to paint the pole, and I opened up this basket. Mark had some paint in there. So I said to the boys, they're perfect colors. I don't even have to go look for paint. Mark had a basket with paint that we used on the pole, so his heart, while we were painting it, I know he would have been there. We used the paint that he had bought on the pole, so that was a great feeling when we started painting it. I have to throw that in there, and his heart was with us while we were painting it.